Good morning. Today we are going to be talking about division as fractions. And we know that division is the equal distribution of a value. And our dividend tells us what is being divided. That's the value that's being shared or divided up. And the divisor tells us how we're going to break that apart. And so if we're looking at what this equation would look like as a fraction, well, what we're going to divide apart, that becomes our numerator, because that's how many we have to count. And then our divisor, how it's going to be broken apart, well, that's kind of based on your number of groups, right? So, or how many would be in a group. So that is going to be our denominator. So 6 divided by 3 would be the same as 6/3, which we know also equals 2 wholes. But we could also look at this, and again, our dividend, the 4, that is our numerator because that's how many I have to distribute and break apart. And then 9 is going to tell us, well, how many we would need in each group. So each whole would have 9 in it. So how can we distribute 4 into a group of 9? Yeah. And that we can see, well, 4 divided by 9 we know is not going to be a whole number. So that's kind of what it would look like as a fraction. Okay, so now we're going to actually take a look and we're going to explore this a little further by looking at something that most of us love, and that is chocolate. So we're going to think about 5 candy bars. I have these 5 delicious candy bars, and we're going to see what happens when we want to distribute them between different numbers of people. So in my first example, I have 5 candy bars, but I am only sharing that just with myself, just one person. So if we're looking to think about, all right, I have 5 candy bars and I'm only sharing them with just one person, so I get all 5 candy bars. So the blue is representing one person and that person gets all of them. So our equation would be 5 divided by 1. But if we take and write that as kind of a fraction like we had done here, we would say our numerator is 5 and we're dividing by 1. So 5 over 1, and that does equal 5. All right, well, what if, let's say I have 2 sisters, and my 2 sisters, Marissa and Karen, they want some of those candy bars too. So I have 5 candy bars, but now I'm sharing them with my 2 sisters, so I have to distribute them between 3 people. So in order to do that, well, I would still need to have my 5 candy bars. 1, 2, 3, 4, and 5. So there's my 5 candy bars, but I have to distribute it between 3 people. There's a couple different ways to look at this, but let's say I get 1, Marissa gets 1, and Karen gets 1. But now I only have these 2 to share out equally. So I can't give each person one whole candy bar anymore. So now if I kind of break each candy bar into thirds, because that's the number of people, that's my denominator, now I can have part of this one, and I can have part of this one. And then Marissa gets 1/3 of this candy bar and 1/3 of that candy bar. And Karen would also get 1/3 of this candy bar and 1/3 of that one. So we started with 5 candy bars, divided up equally between 3 people. So how much would each person get? Well, that, if we wanted to write that as a fraction, we would say that would be 5/3. And if I look, I can see here that each person will get one whole candy bar. And I would get 1/3 of this one and 1/3 of that one. So that would be a total of 2/3. So 5 divided by 3 equals 1 and 2/3. All right, so now I'm going to ask you guys to try one. So let's say we still have these 5 candy bars, but this time we want to share it between 4 people. Okay, so in this case, if we wanted to share that between 4 people, go ahead and draw your model. What would that look like? All right. So there's our model, and we want to share this now between 4 people. So again, each person is going to get one entire candy bar. So there's 3 people, and I have 1 more. So there's 4. Now I have 1 candy bar to share between all 4 people. So how do I have to break that candy bar apart? Absolutely, we have to break it into 4 pieces. And then each person would get 1 of those pieces. Very nice. So again, what would our equation look like? Our equation would look like 5 divided by 4, which as a fraction would be 5/4, which equals 1, and everybody gets 1 whole, and then everybody gets 1/4 of this last candy bar. Okay. Now, we've been looking at sharing candy bars where each person gets an entire candy bar. But what would happen if we had those 5 candy bars, but we wanted to share them equally with 6 people? Let's say 6. Okay? So I want you to go ahead and give that a try with me as we go through that. So again, we have our model. We have 5 candy bars. But I can't make each person have an entire one. So in order to find how much each person gets, I need to actually take each of my candy bars and I'm going to break it apart into 6ths. So halves and then 6ths. And that way I can make sure I'm equally distributing each candy bar. Sorry as I pause as I draw my models. And then to make sure we're equally distributing it, there are different ways we could kind of use the model, but I'm just going to do it so that each person, so there's person 1, is getting 1 part of this one, 1 part of that one, 1 part of the 3rd candy bar, 1 part of the 4th candy bar, and 1 part of the 5th candy bar. And then the second person would get 1/6 of this candy bar, 1/6 of the second one, 1/6 of the 3rd, 1/6 of the 4th, and 1/6 of the 5th. And the third person, same thing. And so what we're really then looking to see is how much total each of these people is going to get of all the candy. So if we look, and we finish my model here. So very colorful. So we had 5 candy bars, and we wanted to divide that between 6 people. then you're really looking to see how much did one of those people get. Well, they got 1/6 here and 1/6 here. They got 1/6 here, 1/6 here, and 1/6 here. So that would be a total of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 sixths. So 5 divided by 6 would be the same as 5 sixths. All right, now for this last one, I want you to try. If you have 5 candy bars and you want to share them equally amongst 8 people, please do your model and see and write your equation. Then you'll continue on to check your work.